A lot of these guys you may not know till later on in life. A lot of education has come out that a lot of the players that were involved in this were well advanced. They've had doctors teaching them how to do this. That, to me, is the amazing thing. So that's what I look back on the whole thing with the responsibility. And I think that fits into what I start off with is I think in the clubhouses, these kids are so much more advanced than what we were. The shock would have been huge back when I was playing. Now I don't think it's as big a shock.
Well, Tom, I believe it was in your book. Rick Helling did stand up, stood up to the union several times and said, hey, this is going on. Please, let's do something about it. And you can talk about what the response was.
Well, the response basically was nothing because he stood up at an executive council meeting with the Players Association board every year from '98 until we got an agreement in 2002 that actually had drug testing. And the union asked around, and some players said it's not that big of a deal, and they let it go. The fact is, they're all paying a price right now, the clean players and the dirty ones, for allowing that to go on for as long as it did. And getting back to what you said, Matt, is that you can understand why guys made that choice. There were no rules in place. I had one player tell me it's like driving down the highway and there's no posted speed limit. Are you going to drive 55 or a little bit more? But I think that disregards and is a lack of respect for the players who chose to do it the right way, who knew what the right speed limit was. And you certainly never want to fall into that trap to say, well, everybody did it, because not everybody did it.
Statements continue to come in. Statements about the statement issued by Mark McGwire that he used steroids throughout his major league career. Bill DeWitt, Jr., Cardinals chairman, saying this, quote, on behalf of the entire Cardinals organization, I believe Mark McGwire today did the right thing by telling the truth and openly acknowledging his past mistakes. No one condones what Mark did more than 10 years ago, but we hired him as our hitting coach because we know there are many contributions that Mark can and will make to our team and to this game. Because of the efforts of Commissioner Bud Selig, who implemented the toughest drug testing program in professional sports, the Major League Baseball culture, as it relates to the use of performance-enhancing substances, has vastly improved over the last decade. I'm glad Mark has gone public, and the Cardinals welcome him back as our hitting coach. Joe McGreen, you're the guy on this desk who played in the St. Louis uniform. Perhaps no more provincial market in baseball than St. Louis. They embrace their own. It is regarded as maybe the best baseball town in the country. Locally, is he going to be treated any differently now in St. Louis than in the rest of the baseball community?
Well, you go back to that great run that he and Sammy Sosa had, and he was just completely beloved in the city and the whole country for that matter. And I think a lot of the people in St. Louis, as honest and forthcoming as they are, straight shooting flyover country Midwesterners, feel that they've been duped. But the one thing that Cardinal fans have always been able to do is embrace players their own that are wearing the uniform, the birds on the bat. There's nothing like it anywhere else, and that includes Yankee Stadium, the way a neighborhood, a community, a city, a town gets behind not only a player but a team. I think that he still has huge proponents, but I think there are going to be a lot of people coming over into the pro side. And I don't think that there was a scenario that he could come back as a hitting coach without making a forthcoming statement.
Any city in the country, especially smaller cities like St. Louis, they rally behind their own. And it's the natural tendency of fans. They want to believe the best, and they will rally around Mark McGwire.
I think you're right, Joe. This was the roadmap he had to take if he wanted to be a hitting coach. And I think beginning tomorrow, maybe a few days later, it's all about how good is he as a hitting coach. You know, if you're a Cardinal fan, obviously that's a good thing that the narrative has changed now. It's not about 1998, it's about 2010. I think he's going to be a good hitting coach. You know, he once told me that he's hit 201 and he's hit 300.
Right.
So he can relate to both ends of the spectrum.
It's a curious case of the statues out in front of New Busch Stadium when the Cardinals moved across the street to their brand new beautiful ballpark, and there's a series of statues around the main home plate entrance there, lionizing the Musials and the Gibsons. And there was the story of the McGwire statue, which had been completed but put on ice in storage. And maybe the statue comes back now.
I think that's exactly where it should stay. While I commend him for coming forward and admitting what he has done, I think there still should be consequences to this. Go out, be a hitting coach, be the best hitting coach that you can absolutely be. And that's my own opinion on it.
Well, again, this is the start of a very busy news day here on MLB Network. We remind you that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, Mark McGwire will sit down live with Bob Costas for his first television interview after admitting to steroid use. Again, that's tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on MLB Network. Bob Costas interviewing Mark McGwire live right here. Again, among those that suited up and lined up against Mark McGwire during his day, our own Al Leiter. Now Sprint connects us to MLB Network's Al Leiter, kind enough to call with his thoughts on the situation. Al, thanks for the phone call. Again, your thoughts after hearing Mark McGwire's statement and the admission of earlier today.
Well, I'm not surprised, guys, and I haven't been listening that long. I heard Harold and what Tom was talking about, and I think I'm probably the most sensitive, certainly on this desk, of knowing that I was a present player during the steroid era, if we will. As McGwire said, he wished he didn't play in it, and I think you know how I feel. There's a list out there. I think all those names should be revealed. I know it won't be done voluntarily. But you had mentioned, Tom, about Rick Helling standing up in an executive subcommittee meeting. I could tell you that that's not completely accurate, and he wasn't the only one. I was one that was very loud. And if Joe McGrain, or I don't know if Harold is still on there, but any player, if you are part of those meetings, you're aware of how it all plays out. And it's not orchestrated, but you feel less empowered to really stand up. And I think at the time, when you saw the first two guys that really came out as action figures, bigger than life, it was Canseco and McGwire. And until somebody actually admitted to it, unless you wanted to like call a guy out and maybe get beat up for it, you just kind of assumed like everybody else did. So the assumption, as far as the revelation today, is, as Harold said, nobody's surprised, and we become dumb, deaf ears.